Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmitt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
Today, we are going to talk about a topic I think we will come back to very often, which is how to plan a trip. For today's purposes, we're talking, a trip probably over 4 days, a real trip, complicated travel logistics, have to deal with a budget, have to deal with getting somewhere, what you're going to see. But first, it really feels to me like we need a tagline.
We definitely need a tagline.
The other podcasts have just great taglines. Sporkful, it's not for foodies, it's for eaters.
That's a good tagline.
It's very good. So I'm thinking that maybe we should, given that we both have day jobs as communications professionals.
It's true.
I'm sure if we put our minds to it, we can probably cook up something that is just right for Out of Office.
Yeah, taglines are one of your specialties, right? Have you cooked up some good options for us?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pitch you. Why don't you pretend to be a client?
Okay.
And I'm going to pitch you 3 taglines that I think just hit special brand pillars of Out of Office.
Okay. We did a lot of brand discovery before this, so I feel
many surveys and focus groups. All right, ready?
Ready.
So you always say at the start, you always go,
hi.
Yeah, you say hi, but we'll leave that for hi. And then you say Out of Office, a travel podcast.
Travel podcast. Yeah.
So I'm going to pitch a tagline. I'm going to repeat the line. Just go right with the tagline. You tell me what you think. Okay.
All right. I'm ready. And I haven't seen these.
No.
I'm just letting people know.
No, you're going to hear them straight. Ready?
Okay.
All right. And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast. Ding, ding, ding went the trolley. Ring, ring, ring went the bell. It's a little Broadway. Do you recognize it?
I do, yeah.
What's it from?
Ring, ring, ring with the trolley. I don't remember what it's from exactly. Meet me in St. Louis. Yes.
So it's kind of a travel show for a travel show.
Yeah, and St. Louis is a great destination.
Yeah, I think it captures sort of our spirit, sort of upbeat. Train travel. Everybody's traveling by train these days.
Yeah, I think it's a little trolley specific. Like if we covered a lot of trolley travel, I would say that would be good. But
okay, I'm just going to write that down. We're going to earmark this for future trolley episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm willing to revisit for a trolley episode.
We should keep a list of future episodes. I think trolley episodes and funicular episodes.
Definitely.
All right. Here's number 2. Out of Office, a travel podcast around the world in 80 plays.
Oh.
But it's plays like playing a podcast.
Right.
So,
right.
Because we're taking people around the world because it's travel and it's literary.
It is literary, and everyone loves literature these days.
And you love carrying around large books, so people think that you read them.
I'm sure I've carried around that book in my life. I think 80 days is a long trip. I mean, most of the trips we're going to be talking about are shorter than 80 days.
I see. So you're confused. You think people might hear that and go, "Oh, this is a podcast specifically for trips that last 80 days
around the world," which is a high barrier.
That's true. We're not just talking international travel. We're talking domestic. We're talking right down the street.
Exactly.
All right, I'm actually going to cross that one out. I don't think that one. I don't think that one's got what it takes. All right, ready?
Ready.
Last
this is
one.
It. I feel like this is going to be it.
Absolutely. Out of Office, a travel podcast. You are here, but it's here, HEAR. You are here because it's like a map.
That's worse than I imagined. If this was like a podcast around dad jokes, I think that would be perfect.
Sure. Okay.
But our audience is broader than that.
I did know, it's healthy to acknowledge the weaknesses. I do think a pun that only works when you see it is probably not best for the audio format.
Right. Yeah. It would play really well on the iTunes app, though.
All right. So ding, ding, ding went the trolley, gone around the world in 80 plays, and you are here off the table. So how about next week? Why don't you think you can do such a good job? Why don't you bring it back to me?
Oh, I'm going to bring my A game next week. This week,
most people see
it's a B.
All right. Absolutely. So why don't we take off, alert the cabin crew?
All right, let's take off.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
All right, so that sound, of course, episode 2, surely you already know this. That sound means we are about to jump into today's topic, which is travel planning.
This is going to be a lot of Excel, folks. There's going to be a lot of fields you're going to have to enter.
You're making a joke just because you know that I am a hyper planner. But you know what? That's part of the reason that everybody, whenever they're going anywhere, says, hey, Kieran, can you share that document, share that itinerary, everything you did, I want to do. Your pictures look so great. You seem to have hit everywhere. That just doesn't happen magically.
No, that's careful. It's a lot of careful planning for that kind of spontaneous magic.
Spontaneous magic. I'd wear a shirt that said. Ryan, would you say that you are a hyper planner?
I would not say that I was a hyper planner, no.
But you plan.
I do some planning, but it's more like the 10 things I want to do. It's less detail oriented than your sort of a Kiernan. What do you call it? The Kiernan method, the Kiernan strategy?
It's a 3-stage framework for travel planning.
It's a framework, right?
Yeah. The Schmitt Three-Stage Framework for travel planning. That would be the STS-Double F-TP. Very catchy.
It rolls off the tongue. Yeah, it's great.
So I'm guilty of being a slight over planner, but I think these 3 stages are something that people should adopt into their own travel planning, and it will pay dividends in the end. But I will say, it does suffer from lack of spontaneity. Sometimes I like to put in an hour or 2 for spontaneous discovery, but keep it very contained.
Right.
All right. So stage 1, I call the long list. Okay.
Right. The long list.
What do you think the long list is?
It's sort of where I stop in my planning, right? It's the big list of stuff that you want to accomplish on this trip.
So the long list, you got to take it back even one more step. You got to decide where you're going.
Oh, well, that's
okay.
True, yeah.
So this is a key part of the travel planning process where you're going to have to go through, the New York Times travel section for the last year. You're going to have to go back to the books that you've been reading about travel, novels, Anthony Bourdain, everything, kind of the stuff that we talk about at the end of our podcast. And you got to make the long list of what's a reasonable destination for you to get to on time, not suffer from terrible jet lag the whole time, stay within your budget, and what fits your interests and the interests of the people that you're traveling with.
So how do you go about putting this long list together?
Well, I dive deep into that big group of research that I was already talking about, but then I put together a PowerPoint presentation. Well, I use Keynote.
Right.
I use Keynote because I'm hip and
you have to pitch this actually to your wife, like you.
That's exactly right. So typically, traveling with my wife, and I put together a small pitch, and I try to say, here are the good parts of this trip. Here are the bad parts of this trip. Maybe it's not the right time of year for the weather to be perfect, but on the upside, then we can get into restaurants because all the tourists aren't there. And that leads to a fruitful discussion. And from the long list, you just cross those right out. And that's when you get to phase 2.
And what is phase 2?
The deep dive.
Oh, the deep dive.
I love phase 2. Phase 2 is my favorite part because this is where I get to go buy travel books. So I put together a big...
I'm sorry, you go to a store and you buy travel books?
Yeah, I like to support small independent bookshops. We got one right down the street from me, Porter Square Books, my favorite bookstore. And I go there, and as long as they have the exact guide that I need, I will buy it. Otherwise, I will go to Amazon on my phone while I stand in the store and make sure it gets delivered to me in a day. But I don't stop there. I also do a wide-ranging internet search for all the articles written in the last decade from news sources I trust. That means New York Times Travel. That means Condé Nast Traveler. Sometimes I'll go Bon Appetit. They're good for the food resources. What travel online destinations do you do your research on?
Eater, TripAdvisor, not for restaurants, but for attractions and museums. I find that to be super useful. Obviously, the New York Times 36 Hours is one of my favorite sort of checklist guides.
How far back do you go back on the 36 hours? Because I'll only go back like maybe 5 years if there was a 36 hours.
Yeah, if it's more than 5 years, it's probably not super helpful.
Is that where you draw the line?
I would say a couple years. I'm like any link that doesn't have isn't post 2016. I probably won't click on it.
The 36 hours also informs phase 1 long list, because I keep a Google Doc of just places I want to go,
Right.
which is ever growing, never going to catch up on it. And I will often, after reading a 36 hours, recently I'll just add something right onto that list because it will help generate the long list for when I engage in this 3-phase process.
It's so fun to travel with you.
So then, once I've done the initial research, that's when I start the trip planning Google Doc as part of the deep dive. This is where I do a day-by-day breakdown, where we're staying each night, all the travel that's included. Do we have to get there by bus, by boat, by train, by trolley, by funicular, future episodes. And then where we're going to eat, because I consider that essential part, and we really want to be on top of reservations if we're trying to get into the hardest places.
Exactly, yeah. And we're going to cover reservations as its own topic in a future episode. But
I believe that might even be the next episode.
It might.
Do you want to make it the next episode?
Let's do it. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we have to.
All right, we're announcing it early. Breaking news, next episode, how to get into the restaurants that you want to get into. And then what's good about the Google Doc is then you can share it with the person that you're traveling with. They can add in, hey, you missed this thing that I really want to do. This sounds fun to me. Oh, it seems like you have 8 really heavy dinners right in a row. Maybe we should do some street food. It's a good topic for conversation.
Yeah, I actually do the same in a Google Doc. It's probably less detailed than yours, but
Do you hyperlink out to the articles that you're referencing?
I definitely do not hyperlink out to any articles that I'm referencing.
Okay, so I guess it's just a little less sophisticated than mine.
It is. It has room for fun, fun and joy.
Yeah, that's not really how I travel. It's because I'm obsessive about, when I'm in a place, don't you just want to hit everything? I hate when something's closed or being renovated. Catherine has a great attitude. She always goes, it's a reason to come back. I don't want to come back. I want to go another place.
Hasn't Europe just been, being renovated for the last 50 years?
Yeah. The one that still haunts me is that we were in Salisbury, England, famous for its donuts and its poisonings, and they were having their medieval glass in the cathedral completely taken out and cleaned. That's the whole reason you go to Salisbury.
Yeah, that cathedral's beautiful.
And I think they reopened it in the past couple of years, so that's the reason to go back.
I went last year, and also Stonehenge is near Salisbury.
Yeah, that's right. Usually you pair those two together.
Yeah.
Good audio tour on that Stonehenge.
It's very small. All right, continue.
All right, so we got phase 1, long list. Phase 2, the deep dive. I should mention, deep dive, for me, that's the longest phase. I'm deep diving straight from right when we've decided where we're going. We've booked the tickets. Now I'm going to keep that research going, building that anticipation. And then finally, we arrive at phase 3, the flight of fancy. Now, this is very detailed. It's what you do when you are en route to the vacation destination. So this means you are going to review everything that you studied up to now, and you're going to actually update the list so that you know the sites and restaurants, the bars, the shopping, and the other attractions that you must hit. Now, I like to do this on a yellow legal pad that I carry around so that as we accomplish different attractions, I can give it a big old check.
Like a physical check.
Yeah, a big old physical check on a yellow legal pad. I find that to be almost more satisfying than the trip itself. And then I will often go back to the guidebooks that we're using, do another check. So I get 2 checks for everything I accomplish.
Do you print out all the documents that you had on your Google before?
So I do print them out, but that's because I'm pretty cheap and I won't often buy the data plan wherever we are.
Ah, right.
Do you not print out?
I don't print out. No, I rely. I mean, if I lose my phone, which I've done, and we can unpack, then it becomes complicated. But generally, I feel pretty secure on having it online.
I feel like it puts me in control if I have it on a piece of paper.
Right.
We can trade it with our partners on the plane to make sure we're all aligned. Maybe do some rejiggering around. I also find with things like tickets and reservations, better to print it out. People take a printout much more seriously than if you show it to them on your phone.
Yeah, it does feel more official.
Yeah,
Like if you show up, they have to let you in because you've gone to the trouble of printing this page out.
exactly. Even though it's just, if it were on the screen, it would be the exact same shit. But people just take it much more. Can I say shit? Do we have a
Yeah. Oh, we're PG-13 here.
say a cuss?
Damn.
Come on. That makes me
What?
makes me look like the bad guy for saying shit. You say worse shit than that all the time.
Never do. I never do. I am not a big fan of profanity. I'm a classy guy.
So anyway, that is my 3-phase process. I recommend first the long list to decide where you're going, the deep dive to build excitement, make sure you're going to hit everywhere you want to go, and then finally the flight of fancy, so you hit that ground running.
Can I ask you a question?
Hit me.
Has there ever been something that you've discovered in the flight of fancy that you wouldn't have done otherwise? Like
Because
something that's surfaced that you're like, oh, I forgot I want to do this.
Yes. Because because you're often planning the trip so far in advance that if you're diving so much into the research, you're reading all those articles, I find that stuff falls through the cracks. And maybe a museum that didn't seem like it was that interesting to you 3 months ago when you were booking suddenly is of interest to you, or you've discovered something's closed, so you have an afternoon free. Now you have something new you can slot in. Also, often in the lead up, I will contact people that I know that have been there in the time since I've booked. So, friends or email the concierge of a hotel or a B&B owner, and they will give me things that maybe come in so late right before the trip, it doesn't make it in the deep dive, but it makes it in to the flight of fancy.
I have found so much great stuff through like the Facebook hive mind by just saying, hey, who has been to Barcelona? And people will recommend things that are sort of more obscure because everybody wants to come in with like a great recommendation.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
You really get your A game that way, I feel like.
Yeah, nobody's going like, oh, go to Sagrada Familia. Thank you very much, unfriend.
Which, by the way, is a beautiful, beautiful place that everyone should go.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't recommend it if you want to seem cool.
And I'm sure it's being renovated.
One of my very good friends just got back from Barcelona. And of course, first thing I said was, did you love Sagrada Familia? He said, we didn't go.
We didn't go.
No, so this podcast is for Albie, who did not go to Sagrada Familia when in Barcelona. The one thing you do.
Are we ready for the last stop?
Yeah, I think it's time for the last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
The last stop is one of my favorite segments. Kiernan, tell us all about it.
I think out of our 2 segments, it is my favorite. This is you're getting towards the end. You're almost done with the podcast. This is where Ryan and I talk about one thing each of us has done or read or seen that inspires that travel spirit within us, that feeds that wanderlust.
Wanderlust, which is Kiernan's favorite word to say. A word I don't think I've ever said outside of that sentence.
Because it's a lust to wander. Isn't that? I think that's a beautiful. No. I'm Catholic. The only thing I can lust for is wandering.
Well, you're going to get to wander a lot in your life. Well, not actually, because you're going to have these printed Excel documents that tell you exactly where to go. So,
actually, you know what? Wander feels like something that should be in the tagline. Maybe.
Oh gosh. Well, we can return.
World of Wander. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Pretty bad.
All right, we're going to put that on the long list of taglines. All right, Ryan, why don't you lead us off? What is your last stop?
I'm so excited. I am planning a trip to one of my favorite places, Mexico City, for a Day of the Dead. And
how do you say Day of the Dead in Spanish, Ryan?
Dia de los Muertos.
So close.
I was pretty close, right?
Closer than you've been in the past, yes.
I'm so bad at Spanish that it's probably one of the best known things about me.
Especially given, because you travel there pretty often.
I do.
Got like a whole crew there.
Yeah, I enjoy going down, and I think we're going to have some fun Mexico City content when I'm down there. So you'd be on the lookout for that.
I believe it's De los Muertos.
De los Muertos.
Yeah, wow, Muertos.
Muertos.
Day
of the Dead is so easy to say, though.
Have you seen Coco?
I loved Coco.
Okay.
I thought it was so good.
See, now I might add that into my flight of fancy. List of things to do. Watch a little Coco on the plane. Get yourself revved up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've already seen Coco though, and I'll probably I'll probably sleep on the plane or read a bit. It's only like a 3.5 hour flight. It's not so bad.
What are you planning to do? I don't really know. I know they honor their ancestors. They wear like skeleton makeup, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's sort of like the party, the skeleton makeup sort of party element of it. It goes throughout the week. I'm probably going to go have dinner at one of my friends' family's houses and kind of experience an actual, Day of the Dead family dinner, which will be fascinating.
And you're going to figure out how to do some interviews and things down there as well, right?
Yes, I'm going to bring my Rode podcaster all the way down to Mexico City, and we're going to do some interviews.
Are you going to wear the skeleton makeup?
I don't know that am I allowed to wear the skeleton makeup?
Yeah, that's actually what I was wondering. A skeleton face? Is that racist?
Oh, I think it might be cultural appropriation.
That could be a good segment. Is that racist? All about cultural appropriation. Well, have you asked anybody?
Well, my friends in Mexico have no problem if I do the makeup. In fact, they've offered to take me with them to when they get it done. My friends in New York that I mentioned it to said there's absolutely no way I can do the makeup. And if I do the makeup, I can't ever have a photo of it on the internet. So
I think you can do the makeup. I don't think that's cultural appropriation.
It's not like I'm at like a Taco Bell on 42nd Street, right? I'm going to be in Mexico City at this celebration. So.
You're going with your amigos, not like a bunch of frat boys,
Well, the frat boy amigos, but yeah.
Sure. Oh, okay. But they are Mexican, so I feel like in a way you sort of are granted permission. But did you say they go to a place to get the makeup put on?
Yeah, there are people who do it really well. So you can book an appointment during the day and get really elaborate sort of professional makeup. So that's the way I'm going to do it if I do it.
Okay. Here are the things I want you to come back and be able to answer. Ready?
Okay.
What are those people called? Like, what is this a permit? Like, is it a permanent job or is it a once a year job? You're a florist most of the time, but you do skeleton makeup every October.
Right.
And then the second is, how do you choose the face? Do they have? Is it like when you go to the barber and they have like, pictures of haircuts all along the top? You go, I want that one. Or do you describe kind of the feeling you want, and then they create the face just for you?
Yeah, I don't have any. That's a great question. I have no idea if there's some sort of menu that you can choose from, or if they're sort of all unique, or if they're So that'll be interesting.
All right, perfect.
So what is your last stop?
My last stop this week, like everybody, I think we're still all mourning the death of Anthony Bourdain, one of the world's great travelers. And the truth is, I was not very aware of Parts Unknown. I knew it was on. I knew it was a cool show, but I think because it was on CNN or something, I just never got around to watching it. And now Catherine and I are just doing super marathons of these things. And I didn't really know his work. I've never read any of the books. Have you read any of the books?
Kitchen Confidential. I actually just read it about a month ago.
So I never went back to that because I kind of thought it might be a little outdated.
I think there's a lot in it that still rings true. I mean, he's a fantastic writer. So there's so much sort of color and flavor that he brings out about like the New York City restaurant scene, about his
flavor.
I know.
Woof.
About his life, as a young man, starting in different kitchens. I mean, there's a lot. He's a great storyteller, and there's so much more in there than just sort of about what it's like to be in a restaurant.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, he references himself as a writer on Parts Unknown quite a lot. And actually, I've noticed he's credited as both a host and a writer. And I do think that those voiceovers, especially that kind of start and move the show along and then button it at the end, those are some of the best kind of travel literature I've ever heard. So that's the piece of the show. I mean, obviously, beautiful visuals, pretty brilliant exploration of the food and the culture. But I do think the amount of thought that went into those voiceovers might be the greatest thing that I take away. So those are eventually going to be added into my deep dives. Anytime we're going to a place that he's been, I almost feel like watching an episode is a richer experience than like flipping through a guidebook.
Yeah, whenever I go someplace that I haven't been before, I always see if Anthony did an episode there, and then I watch it, because even if you don't go to those specific restaurants. The sort of like life that he brings there, and the conversations that he have, I think, really, provide a lot of background for where you're going. And
then I think the last season's going to be on now. So I'm going to try to find cable, which I don't have, and watch those.
Yeah, well, I'll probably wait till they get on Netflix, but I will definitely look forward to watching those.
It will be dark though to watch. I mean, it's been dark to watch after his death, so I imagine new episodes will be even harder.
Yeah, no, I wonder how they're going to handle that. There must be some kind of message in the last few episodes, especially.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting too. I have a lot of friends who, when he died, they wrote some of the most beautiful tributes on social media that I've ever seen about how much he inspired them to travel more adventurously, how he took places that they never would have thought about going and made them believe that they could handle a trip there.
I can see that. I mean, I think that his episode to like Istanbul, made me think that I can go to places that I hadn't initially even conceived I'd want to go. Not alone like would be welcoming, beautiful places. So I think he did that for a lot of people, and people who don't get a chance to travel much really kind of it opened the world and said, look, the world is massive and the world is big, but everyone is kind of the same. And I think that's one of the messages of the show. Everybody sits down.
I'm surprised Istanbul wasn't on your list already.
It might have been, but
have you been? I haven't been to Istanbul.
I have, yeah. It's beautiful.
Because I always think of it sandwiches east and west. It's like probably. I know it's got great food.
Food is great. It's got the only bridge that you can cross into another continent. So you can go from Asia to Europe. It's kind of cool.
Did you take a picture?
I did, yeah. It's on my Instagram at Ryan New York. Check it out.
Does it have like one of those double arrows, one pointing to Europe, one pointing to Asia?
No, it doesn't. It's.
So how do people know?
I think I read it in like a guidebook or something, or I read it in 36 Hours in Istanbul. But I remembered that fact, and when we went to breakfast across the water, and then we took a little boat back.
Well, maybe whenever I do end up going to Istanbul, I'm going to put in my deep dive, bring a sign that says Asia with an arrow and Europe with an arrow. Well, I haven't seen that episode yet, but I will think of you when I watch it, Ryan.
Please do. And next week we will talk about restaurant reservations.
Bye.
Bye.
That's not going to be our sign off.
Until next week, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmitt.
And we are Out of Office,
a travel podcast.